The small, unassuming town of Millhaven had always been a place where time seemed to stand still. Nestled in a valley and surrounded by rolling hills, it was a community where everyone knew everyone else. And the most exciting events were the occasional town fair or high school football game. It was precisely this tranquility that made the events surrounding Derek Rosa so unfathomable. A tragedy that would shatter the town's idyllic facade and leave scars that would linger for decades. Derek Rosa was 16 years old when the nightmare began. He lived with his mother, Irina Garcia, a single parent who had devoted her life to providing for her only child. Irina was a beloved kindergarten teacher, known for her warmth and kindness. She had raised Derek alone since his father, a truck driver, died in a highway accident when Derek was just 5. The two were inseparable, sharing quiet dinners, movie nights, and long talks about Derek's future. But beneath the surface, cracks were beginning to show. Derek was a bright student, but increasingly withdrawn. Teachers noted a shift in his demeanor during his sophomore year. His grades began slipping, and he often appeared exhausted and distracted. Friends mentioned that Derek had started isolating himself, spending hours locked in his room playing violent video games or scrolling through dark corners of the internet. Irina, ever the attentive mother, had tried to reach him, but her efforts were met with silence or outbursts of anger. It was a cold March evening when the crime occurred. Irina had come home from work and prepared dinner, as she always did. But this night was different. Around 10 p.m., neighbors reported hearing a loud argument coming from the Rosa household. The shouting escalated, followed by a deafening silence. Minutes later, the piercing wail of sirens shattered the stillness of the night. Irina Garcia was found in the living room, her body lifeless and covered in stab wounds. The weapon, a kitchen knife, lay nearby. Derek was discovered sitting on the couch, his clothes stained with blood, staring blankly at the floor. When the police arrived, he didn't resist. Instead, he reportedly whispered, "I had no choice." The investigation that followed left even seasoned detectives reeling. Derek claimed that his mother had been controlling and overbearing, constantly criticizing him and dictating every aspect of his life. But Irina's friends and colleagues painted a different picture. That of a mother who adored her son and worked tirelessly to give him the best opportunities. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a trove of troubling details about Derek's life. His internet history revealed visits to forums where users glorified violence and discussed extreme ideologies. Investigators also found a journal in Derek's room filled with dark, cryptic entries that hinted at his growing resentment toward his mother. One entry, dated just weeks before the murder, read, "She's the only thing standing in my way. Maybe once she's gone, I can finally be free." This chilling evidence painted a picture of a young man spiraling into a dangerous mental state, consumed by a mix of teenage rebellion and deeper psychological issues. The trial of Derek Rosa became a media sensation, drawing reporters from across the country to the small Millhaven courthouse. The prosecution argued that the murder was premeditated, citing Derek's journal and his online activity as evidence. They described him as a cold, calculating killer who had brutally taken the life of the person who loved him most. The defense, however, painted a different picture. They argued that Derek suffered from severe mental health issues, including depression and undiagnosed schizophrenia. Expert witnesses testified that Derek's perception of reality had been warped, leading him to believe that his mother was a threat. The defense also pointed to the lack of a clear motive, suggesting that Derek's actions were the result of a psychotic break rather than a deliberate plan. Irina's friends and colleagues packed the courtroom, their grief palpable as they listened to the harrowing details. But the most heart-wrenching testimony came from Derek himself. Taking the stand, he broke down in tears, describing his love for his mother and his confusion about what had happened that night. "I don't know why I did it," he sobbed. "I loved her. I still love her." After weeks of testimony and deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Derek was found guilty of second-degree murder but was sentenced to 20 years in a psychiatric facility rather than a traditional prison. The judge emphasized the need for treatment over punishment, acknowledging the complex interplay of mental illness and the crime. The sentencing did little to ease the heartbreak felt by Irina's loved ones. Her sister Lucia tearfully spoke at the trial's conclusion, saying, "Irina was the light of our family. She gave everything for Derek. None of us saw this coming, and it's something we'll carry with us forever." The town of Millhaven was never the same. The Rosa home remained vacant, a haunting reminder of the tragedy. Over time, rumors began to circulate about the house being cursed, with some claiming to hear faint cries at night. The once vibrant neighborhood grew quieter as families moved away, unable to reconcile with the shadow the crime had cast. Irina's colleagues established a scholarship fund in her name, ensuring that her legacy of kindness and education would live on. Each year, a student aspiring to become a teacher received the scholarship, a bittersweet reminder of the life Irina had devoted to nurturing young minds. As for Derek, his life in the psychiatric facility was marked by a slow and painful process of self-discovery and therapy. He underwent intensive counseling sessions, where doctors tried to piece together the fragmented thoughts that led to his mother's death. Over time, Derek began to show signs of remorse and understanding, though he continued to struggle with feelings of guilt and confusion. "Every day I think about her," Derek wrote in a letter to his therapist. "I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. Maybe I don't deserve to." The letter became a focal point in his treatment, as therapists worked to help him process his emotions and confront the gravity of his actions. In time, the story of Derek Rosa became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the importance of mental health awareness and the devastating consequences of untreated psychological issues. Schools in Millhaven began implementing mental health programs, hoping to identify and support troubled students before their struggles could escalate. Counselors visited classrooms, teaching students about the importance of seeking help and speaking openly about their feelings.